the 8th of July, 2022. Thanks for tuning in to my official YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel, like my official YouTube videos, and go to my website, www.susanmeling.com, which is the same as www.ladydoribelle.com. I will be putting the inspirational links into the information section for you to go listen to and think about the different proverbial metaphors in reference to the current time, the 8th of July, 2022. So, in reference to the border crisis at the state of Texas and Mexico, I brought up in the year of 2010 into 2011 and 2012 as to the situations that were going on in regards to what was happening with my daughter. Now, specifically in the year 2012, I had brought up the situations as to not only the health care and the mental health situations as to the combination of, though also in reference to the Child Protective Services because of the income situation, where they assumed that just because of certain factors that there was automatically something in place for. Additionally to that, despite the facts that, and if you go to my journal blog, The Ornery PSA, which is through my website, www.susanmeling.com, if you go and pay attention to the income for the 24-hour a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that active duty National Guard reservists, if you were to take the active duty National Guard and or reservist payments for that 24-hour a day, 365 days a year, that includes veterans because of the facts when you take in consideration how many veterans, especially if they have a pattern of behavior, to going and handling as best as they can different areas where they can actually assist. Yet there has been a bit of a quieting regarding that minimum wage. And so when you take in consideration that where other people in various employments automatically get however many, the full hour work week is technically 40 hours. The situations in regards to other areas of employment and the healthcare factors as to the ACA. Now, I brought this up back in 2010, 2011, and 2012, which a bunch of people which were younger than I had the largest amount of problems. The majority of them also had voted for 44. There were also elder people to me who had thought that I was being over dramatic, thought that they knew more in the capacities of, in comparison to paying attention to the details that I was bringing forward. Back then, this is the year 2022. So in regards to the Child Protective Service situation, which yes, I called CPS in regards to the first hospital out in Merrill Creek, Liberty Hill, The second location that I had contacted Child Protective Services was in San Antonio, and it was because the insurance company was not willing to do certain things, even though the situations were as they were. McCoy Elementary School had not taken responsibility for their accountability for their stupidity. The situations as to Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District, as to those particular factors, as well as the Fort Worth Sioux, and any individual that could have actually assisted correctly. Yet, if individuals were illegal immigrants in the United States of America, they were guaranteed things in comparison to the citizens of the United States of America, as well as more specifically, yes, you have to be a citizen of the United States of America to be a part of the armed forces of the United States of America. I was born and raised in New Jersey. And individuals in the state of Texas, as to that border crisis, They were capable to get assistance before my daughter was. They were capable to get assistance before I was. What did all of those people in the state of Texas, as well as other border states, think was going to happen in the reference? Now, you do have a metaphor where, in reference to one particular scuba dive certification that I earned, the uptick that had occurred back in the year of 2010 was after my cavern scuba diving certification classes. That later I learned that International, the school that I had went through in Carrollton, Texas, as to who should actually be on my cavern scuba diving certification card in comparison to the name that's there. I contacted PADI, or PADI, and asked them about that via email. And their response was they already looked into it. Well, if they looked into it, why didn't they speak with me? Because I didn't speak with anybody back in 2009. I didn't speak with anybody back in 2010. I didn't speak with anyone back in 2011. I didn't speak with anybody in 2012. I didn't speak with anybody from PADI until the year of 2020, 2021. That was the first time I ever had any email correspondence with PADI about my scuba diving certifications. So I don't know who gave any permission to speak on my behalf, but I guarantee you I didn't give them permission, and that's the most important fact as far as that is concerned. The irony as to the situations regarding my daughter, my son, and I, as well as the situations regarding the uniform fetish ball, as to how that went, and in the state of Texas. I'm the one who completed the work that I had, which I still haven't received the actual credit for my work at all in what would be considered the correct capacities, because that has not occurred. I can give the details of, but it doesn't change the fact that to this day, there hasn't been anybody that has ever correctly given me the credit for my work, which requires me to physically be there. There is no one that has ever had the right to speak on my behalf about my scuba diving at any point in time. They have been allowed to speak about their scuba diving, but they have not ever been allowed to speak about mine. So the facts as to the irony regarding the uptick as to the illegal immigration in the state of Texas, specifically at the border regarding that. Now when you take an additional consideration because of being an unattached female scuba diver, having earned 26 scuba diving certifications on my own, there's not any individual that has ever given me the credit on that either, as far as those situations are concerned. I haven't ever given anybody the right to speak on my behalf because that requires my permission, which I haven't given. That is not a freedom of expression. That's also not any right. That's technically libel, slander, false representation, and misrepresentation, among other legal aspects. So the obvious situations as to those factors, in conjunction to the irony, especially go ahead and check the links and listen to the situation. So then there's the factors regarding a group that I personally had created. I didn't ever get it off the ground because of all the stuff that I was personally dealing with. I had a whole bunch of false accusations throughout the years, and not one of them has ever been actually accurate. I didn't ever break anything as far as that's concerned, and I shouldn't have ever been penalized in any hypotheticals, any aspects at all. There is no authority that would ever actually respect that. People wonder why, in what's supposed to be considered the consenting adult lifestyle, you wonder why the general public doesn't take you seriously. It's because you don't hold people to accountability when you especially find out the truth, as far as that is concerned. So in regards to the multitude of events and the multitudes of situations that I assisted preventing from getting any worse. So I'm going to give a different example as a metaphor. In Sapphire, the Ruby Room door was left open. I dealt with a bunch of people complaining because I wouldn't allow a bunch of undocumented, unchecked at the front door into the area during certain evenings. I would stand as the barrier as far as that was concerned. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't put my hands on anybody. I just stood by the door. But then there's the situations as to the amount of complaints, because I wouldn't allow unpaid, undocumented individuals into Club Sapphire. Same thing in regards to a few evenings, as far as a specific Friday event. And there were different problems that had occurred. I also had been known in regards to 2015 into 2016, 2017, and into the middle of 2018 in regards of not allowing unattached males. Didn't matter if they were in a relationship, they were not with in-person, face-to-face in person, with a female in the back. Or a male if that was their preference, it doesn't matter. And so while other people haven't paid attention when you have, especially the 1980s and 1990s, as to what happened during the 1960s and 1970s, there's a lot of problems that came out into the 1980s and 1990s. Hypothetically, because of that same type of lifestyle. People wonder why there have been businesses that were created, and yet the accountability as far as that's concerned instead. And so while some people may have wished regarding whatever viewpoints of, I had a lot of people I personally knew who died in the 1980s and 1990s. In the time frame at Club Sapphire, there were several reports as to people who contracted a few things and didn't inform others, but they informed Club Sapphire. And Club Sapphire, the staff members, said that there wasn't anything that they could do, which is untrue. Absolutely untrue. They legally could have actually informed so, if proven. But it would take the proof. And so in those references, while other people, you have the border reference as to the door. You have the aspects as to the wristbands, because I'd call people out for not having wristbands on. And it had to be the correct wristband as well. But then, if in that other aspect, if some people were scalping the wristbands in that difference, see, that's a different problem to take into consideration. And so in the area of SeaTac, or Seattle, that particular situation as to the different problems that had occurred. And so that was stuff that I brought forward, not online, by the way, not in a public area until my website, www.susanmeadling.com, which is the same as www.ladydoribell.com. As far as FetLife is concerned, that's not a public area. That is where you have to sign up and all that sort of stuff. It has been over 10 years since that point in time, in regards of my journal blog, The Ornery PSA. So those individuals who have had any issues regarding anything concerned, why would you have an issue with that if it could be preventative instead? So I had this issue regarding a bunch of the little TNGers, or the next generation, where I spoke with other elders in the community about what those types of those people were doing in the reference of, because of the medical aspects, because of the situations. I warned about these individuals who had been utilizing tools that, fine, you want to use certain tools, whatever, you better do it correctly though. They didn't have any training, or whatever training they had, it was not on human beings, as far as that's concerned. And then in reference to others where they wanted to have certain individuals and try to push them into something that they were not allowed to be in because of their background, and I can speak from experience. I had individuals who tried to push me into being a professional dominatrix. No, I legally can't. Not with what I can do. No, absolutely not. I absolutely refuse. It has absolutely nothing to do with certain other issues that some people have had of themselves. That's their own factor. Do I have a problem when it comes to, marital aspects? Absolutely. I don't deny that at all, because I know about the technology situation, which is something I warned about as well. I warned people that other people who have children are not as meticulous. And so you have those T&Gers, as far as that's concerned, the millennial situations, as far as that's concerned. And if, in the capacity of the misconstrued, because you have the reference of the clips. You don't know what the whole show is. You only have the reference of the clips. I only do a full aspect to my official YouTube channel as to my official YouTube videos, because I don't want any misconstruing. I want to make sure that you can go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com, which is the same as www.ladydoribell.com, for the truth in regards to, I don't need other people that want to wish that they could do certain things. They didn't get my permission, similarly to scuba diving. That's just the facts. Those types of those needless problems to those irresponsibility aspects have been a problem for far too long. Then there's in reference to the underground cavern situations. Brought that up back in 2011 to be more specific, and individuals were like, well, what's the big deal? Well, you're going to have a bunch of Democrats in your state. You're going to have Texas turn blue if you don't actually take care of stuff. And then they won't even be allowed to vote in certain regards anyway, because of the certain situations as to my ex-sister-in-law in regards to the Fort Worth area. Because when it comes to certain things, if you don't actually take care of the situations, they'll do whatever, because in comparison to where they come from, what does it matter? And so while other people haven't taken into consideration the individuals such as active duty, National Guard, reservists, and veterans, as well as their dependents in those regards, those particular individuals, especially in the DFW area, though more so closer to Dallas than Fort Worth, those individuals as to those needless problems because they think that they know better in comparison to the reality. That's just the facts. They want to wish that they can go watch a little clip and it's the whole thing. No, you actually have to read in detail. This is the problem with, yeah, sure, memes do make sense in some ways, but you don't get the fullness of. Clips, you don't get the fullness of. And that's the problem, where so many people, especially millennials, do the shortcutting in comparison to doing the actual work. Then they think that they actually have the right to something that they didn't themselves do when they don't. It's kind of similar in regards to how I earned 26 scuba diving certifications. None of those instructors have any right to anything regarding my work because it's my work. I already informed them before I ever met them that I grew up swimming out in the Atlantic area, the oceanic waters. They didn't teach me that. They didn't even teach me in regards to the majority of my certifications. The majority of them. I was actually teaching my own instructors how to do their job. That's the sad part. And then you don't have the common sense to pay attention. Because if they actually paid attention, it requires respect in comparison. They haven't done that. They haven't done anything that would ever be considered respectful in what I would consider as actually respectful. So in regards to 46, as to those factors, the situations when he was Vice President of the United States of America was during the time frame that I was dealing with the aspects as to both 2009 regarding my scuba diving certifications and my work, as well as the situations regarding what occurred in reference to my daughter, my son, and I. That was was during the time frame of 46's vice presidency. And instead of any person that I actually knew in person, face-to-face in person, at any point in time, ever taking in consideration the reality that I spoke about and the reality that I brought forward, to this day, there isn't anybody who's made the correct choice. Which the correct choice translates, you speak with me. In person, face-to-face in person. In truth, though, instead of what's gone on, that's not acceptable in any capacity, as far as the stuff that has been as it's been. But that also requires accountability for their stupidity, because that's their responsibility. And they didn't like my words back in 2009 or 2010 or 2011 or 2012. Then there's the situations as to Washington State, and I didn't even use that many words. I used less words in Washington State than I used in the state of Texas. I would guarantee that in a hypothetical, a bunch of those types, as far as if they showed up in Washington State, they probably were just hiding in whatever capacity in comparison to being actual mature adults. Instead, because why would I ever consider them mature if they can't actually speak with me in truth, with etiquette and respect, instead of the garbage that they had done in that hypothetical as to what would be proven? There's not any individual at all in the Washington State area, as I've brought forward in my journal blog, the Ornery PSA, as to the updates in 2019, 2020, 2021, and this year of 2022, who has actually been correctly assistive to me at all. While some people might wish. No. No, what would actually be assistive is things to be done correctly in a timely manner by what I consider a timely manner, not you. Your bureaucracy has been a problem this whole damn time, in my opinion. So when you take in consideration the border crisis, oh yeah, I'm sure that since I haven't been at Club Sapphire, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a whole bunch of problems occur. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised if there were a bunch of times where unattached males, especially the single unattached males, went in the back and had to be dealt with and all that sort of stuff and different words of whatever. Where in comparison, I'd just walk back there and they'd turn right back around. I never have to say much to any of them. But you know, I was just volunteering in comparison. Just pointing that out there. Then when you take an additional, in that reference, well, I brought up in regards to San Antonio, Texas, as far as the situations where I did assist, and then what occurred in reference to when I wasn't attending. In reference to 2012's event, there were situations that I prevented being problematic. Didn't ever get any appreciation regarding that either, though. You know, I mean, it's just a dumpster fire that occurred. That's all. Right next to the smoking section where there was the plastic tarps and the strings that were attached. That would have literally melted on top of the people in the smoking section with only one door that would have allowed them to try to go in through the dungeon. And because of where the dumpster was, as to those particular lines, as far as whatever piping there was for that particular building near the Crown Plaza. And so in that additional capacity, as far as the issues, I'm a trained dungeon master or dungeon monitor, however you so choose to word that. Actually earned my graduation in regards to the Dominant Mentor program. But then there's that, because how dare I bring forward what was actually taught in basic training time frame for what they called it. They called it boot camp. 3 months, each weekend, set of classes, Saturday and Sunday. And so I don't know what the Dallas mentor training would be, but in Austin, that was 3 months. And every weekend, before it was allowed to be the electives. We had mandatory factors to take into consideration. I completed over 10 electives before I transferred to the Dallas Mentor Program from the Austin Mentor Program. But I know there were some people that had issues because I called shit out. Because I actually lost people that I remembered from the New York City area in the 1980s and 1990s. So all of those boot camp time frame, well, that just reminded me of who I once knew. But those types of those people, in comparison to having any actual compassion, because in order for them to actually have compassion, that would require them to, which they didn't ever have. If they actually had compassion, in comparison to the bullshit that I've dealt with, well, it'd be very different. And that's the facts, especially 2019, 2020, and 2021. There's not a damn thing any of them have actually ever done that's actually, truthfully assistive to me. Because what would actually be considered as, but that would require speaking with me in truth. And that is something that was a problem back then, before 2019. And not even just in person, face-to-face in person. Obviously. So in those particular references, well, when you have someone who's the equivalent old guard gatekeeper that just, no, why would I bother wasting my time if that's the garbage you're going to pull? What would it matter? Because when you had, hypothetically, when you had that back in the 1970s, what happened in the 1980s? I knew a few guys. So in that hypothetical, as to those situations, well, what's occurred since? In comparison. Didn't cause any problems, didn't cause any drama, except for the individuals who would be considered as criminal, as far as that's concerned. Those people, oh yeah, no. Titty baby temper tantrums. Because someone would actually stand and guard. In comparison. Someone who could actually educate correctly, instead of wishing, reading something, or watching something, or listening to something. Can't answer a damn question. Because if you actually had to answer a question that actually required something, that would actually do so. That is a requirement of maturity. If you don't have the maturity to do so, well, why not? Why can't you answer a simple question? What's the problem? And what if the irony is, the question isn't even that difficult? How weak would that make someone? So in reference to how again, go check the information section as to the links. How weak does that make someone look if they can't actually do something without a pre-written card? What type of leader is that? At all. So in the hypothetical, as to individuals within the supposed to be consenting adult lifestyle, what background you got in truth? What could you actually speak to? Oh, you read some books? That's nice. You don't have any actual experience? And if you do, what type of experience you got? Because that's another situation. Instead, And so while I made actual attempts in regards to a group I had created called WHIPS, well, other people had their opinions as far as I was concerned. Nobody actually had the maturity to ask me about what I was referring to. But it doesn't really matter now because why bother with those people? There's realistically nothing that's worthwhile to me at all regarding those people. They made it abundantly clear, though, that I wasn't worthwhile to them either. Because if in the hypothetical as to how I wound up in Washington State, obviously nobody actually said, hi, is your name have you ever been in the scene in the state of Texas? That would have been intelligent. And if I ever had said, well, yeah, I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 and I was in a coma for a while and I woke up at Fort Sam Houston, well, you know what common sense would be is to actually bring that up in comparison. Although, yes, while some people brought up that they had been from Texas, so what? I mean, cool, I lived there. But here's the thing. Does Texas look in anywhere of any location? Does Texas events look anything like where Club Sapphire was? Because if it does, well then maybe, but where? Otherwise, if it looks nothing like Club Sapphire as far as the outside or the inside, what lack of common sense would that be to anybody? Then again, I know the education system because, I went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math. And I know a bunch of people had little problems, little titty baby little bitch fits because, their level of second grade, obviously different than mine. Obviously. So sure, yeah, the arithmetic issues, yeah, I don't deny that. I don't know what their arithmetic is, though, because Greg Gutfeld on the 5 had brought up, that something about 2 plus 2. I thought 2 plus 2 was 4. When did 2 plus 2 turn to 5? Just pointing that out there. I mean, yeah, I have cognitive issues and memory deficits. I don't remember. So hold on. Okay, so 2. So that's 4. Huh. Well, there you go on that. 4. I mean, unless you count, if you put it on 2 hands, and then the person that's hands they are as far as in the middle is 5. Well, that's pretty, that's a little messed up. I mean, that's a cognitive issue or a defective viewpoint as to that in comparison, in my opinion. So then when you take into the reference, again, go ahead and listen to those videos as far as that's concerned. Well, why would it be problematic for someone to actually, because if you don't have actual security in a nondescript sort of way where it's just, in a floater way, well, what problems do you have creep in without that? And so since those particular factors have been as those particular factors have been, I haven't been to Sapphire since 2019, only one time that year. And before that, it was volunteering. All right, fine. I mean, it's not as though I've ever been to an event where I could actually enjoy myself. That's for certain, although there's a few reasons why now, aren't there? There wasn't one event in the state of Texas that was ever enjoyable for me. Why would I ever believe anywhere else would be? When you really take that in consideration. There's not one event. Out of all the years that I've been involved with the supposed to be consenting lifestyle, there is not one event that I have ever attended that I have ever actually enjoyed myself. And I'm not even talking about in the sexual way. I'm literally talking about just having discussions without some bullshit occurring. And that's just the facts. Well, whatever other people might be thinking, that's whatever their opinion is. Club Sapphire is a perfect example as to what I dealt with needlessly. in regards of certain types of certain people. So, that's fine. I don't actually have the same needs certain people do. So while some people might feel that they have a need regarding that, well, that's them. That's them. I don't have that need. I am not that type of person. I knew plenty of people that I cared about who lost their lives in not just the 1980s and 1990s from that, though also 1993 and 2001. So, some people physically reminded me of a few. Excuse me. I won't bother. You don't have to worry about that. It's just working on, as I explained, after effects of my head injury. You can be just like whatever occurred then. Because no need. You obviously got it handled far better, right? You don't actually need someone that actually has the background. Because if you actually needed the person who has the background, you'd actually speak with, in person, face-to-face, in person, with respect and etiquette, in comparison to the bullshit that occurred in that hypothetical aspect in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, even 2014, though especially 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018. But then there's the bullshit additionally that occurred when I got back to the state of Texas. Because instead of having any human decency, what human decency was there? My bad, I forgot, I remembered. I was the human decency. Instead. No need. It's fine. You can stay in your whatever and remain as whatever. And you can stay in whatever, and you can remain in whatever, and you can stay in whatever, and you can remain in whatever. And I will continue on doing my own thing. Because unlike some people, that hasn't actually been an actual physical need of mine. That hasn't actually been that. That has not even been a sexual need of mine, by the way. Unlike some people, that's not something that's an actual need for me to have any whatever in that particular type of a connection in comparison. So while some people may have had whatever thought process they may have had, for me in that capacity, doesn't really do anything for me. There's no real turn on for me. So for example, in regards of, there are individuals that I've had a few scenes with. Very few, very limited. And after the end of the scene, done, bye. Alright, bye. You got what you need? Alright, bye. Didn't do anything for me, wasn't any turn on whatsoever. Just, alright, you enjoyed yourself, cool, alright, bye. Didn't go overboard, awesome, okay, bye. Bye. That's it. So unlike some people where they might have, that's not me. That's also another reason when it comes to the supposed to be consenting adult lifestyle community. That's why I also wasn't ever in that sort of way. Although naturally I'm not. Naturally I am not that type of a person. Some might think what they might think. Naturally I am not. The only way I actually am is in an actual relationship, and that's it. If I'm not in a relationship, alright, whatever. Whatever. I'm a pansexual, okay? And so, yeah, if I'm not in a relationship, well, that's just, it's a pan, whatever. Yeah, I mean, their sexuality, yeah, whatever. But the reality, additionally, is as much work as I've done, whether you take in reference to my scuba diving work, if a male did a tenth of, or even a 50th of what I accomplished as far as my work, bitches would be on their knees as far as in front of me. Just pointing that out there. There wouldn't be a damn motherfucker that wasn't on their knees. If I was a male, biologically, of course. That's just the facts. But that is as it is. Same thing in regards to the different situations I took care of. But prevented, as far as other stuff. And so again, there wouldn't be but you know, that requires a male to not be machismo and sexist and feminazi. Same thing requiring in regards of biological females that didn't have to deal with certain things because I handle business. So, you know, bitches would be just as whatever in that comparison instead. But that's the if factor as to the if it was actually respected as to what I took care of and prevented from being a problem without making a big deal about it. Just handling it. Just went on and took care of it. Instead, yeah, I could talk about it now in 2022. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Because I'm sure that certain things haven't changed as far as those types. So while for a lot of time, yeah, sure, oh, I knew because I handled it. I took care of that shit on my own. There wasn't any motherfucker who actually came up to me and said, hey, whether in regards of Susan or Lady Dory Bell, don't matter. Hey, are you okay? You know, I saw that happened. No. That would require humanity. That would require compassion. That would require human decency in comparison. Haven't ever had that. That's just the fucking facts. There hasn't been a point in time where I've had the luxury of that. You know, in truthful luxury. You know, in comparison to what other people think as to what they think would be. So for those who know the Silverleaf Company in the state of Texas, presidential unit, that's luxury in regards of going to what I consider as a resort. In comparison. Okay? But those people who may think otherwise as to what they would think I would view as luxury, no. So those Canyon Lake Dam area, that particular one, presidential suite. In comparison to, you know, other types. Some people may think what they think as far as what they view as luxury in comparison to what I actually view as luxury. So, for example, I was told when I went to Cozumel that I was going to be staying at a resort. And then I got there with the group of whatever, and the room that I was in, well, that wasn't a freaking resort. That was a damn hotel room in comparison. Nothing more than that. I've actually seen hotel rooms that are actually more upscale, in my opinion, than what was claimed to be a resort. But you know, I had work to do, so I went to go take care of my work. Though when you say resort, I have a minimum standard, and that is not even at the minimum. That is absolutely not at the minimum standard, as far as that's concerned. So, you know, but just pointing that out there as far as some people, how they might think, and You know, what would actually be considered as a luxury to me? What I would actually consider as instead. And there haven't been those situations where what I would consider as has ever been presented to me in an official, honest capacity. Not in some hint, not in some aspect. No, 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 no. Honesty. Integrity. It's kind of important by a lot. So while some people might think whatever they might think is to prior situations, especially when it comes to that civilian recreational scuba diving lazy capacities, and having been accused that I was scuba diving luxuriously, that was the furthest from what I would ever consider as luxury at all. Just pointing that out there. That is not luxury to me. Anyway, at all. Nothing about it would ever be considered luxurious by my standards. At all. And while some people might have their opinion or have their feelings, well, see, that's the problem. You have your opinion. And if after a while you haven't cleaned up your opinion to actually pay attention to details correctly, well, guess what? It really gets to stinking if you don't take care of that opinion correctly. So when it's been clarified and verified as far as quite a few situations, you'd think that you'd get that taken care of correctly instead. Because that's not my fault, that's yours. Better recognized as far as that's concerned. So while some people might think that they know what is best for me, well, why would you think that? Because if your viewpoint of what you think would be luxury to me is anything less than the presidential type of suites, as to actual presidential suites, as to what I'm accustomed to, you don't know what luxury is. For me. So while I had some people claim that they thought I was snobby, I don't know why. I didn't ever bring that up, as far as that's concerned. I could have beforehand. But instead, I remained calm, because I was taking care of as best as I could what I was taking care of instead. I haven't had the luxury of somebody actually speaking with me, correctly speaking with me, in comparison to whatever hypothetical. Because that's not speaking with me. It's similar to this official YouTube video of mine. I am speaking at the recording device in comparison to speaking with. So in this official YouTube video of mine, I'm speaking at you. It's a lecture. It's a monologue. You're being spoken at, not with. Because speaking with requires actual communication, where there's a dialogue back and forth utilizing words in the correct capacity in comparison to the immaturity that I dealt with before, as far as that's concerned. So when you look in reference to some of the situations as to the links regarding the information section as to what was brought forward, well, there's the border crisis, absolutely. There hasn't been anybody that's ever, really paid attention to it that much. And when it was brought forward years ago, it's over a decade at this point in time, and there are people before me who have brought this forward. This is over a decade in 2022 that I've brought this up. It's over a decade. You'd think that you'd actually do something correctly by now. Instead, you'd think also, though, you'd actually have to clarify and verify quicker, correctly, instead of wasting so much time. You know, if instead of doing all the backward stuff, if you actually, took care of that correctly the first go around, well, maybe, just maybe, you'd actually get it done correctly. But that would be if people actually were mature enough to. And so, while in reference to how some people have been, and not just that, because again, you've got Uvalde, you have the situation as to Highland Park, as far as that has been going on for over 2 decades now. Because it's well before Columbine in Colorado. So you got this going on for quite a bit of time. You got Sandy Hook up in New Jersey. So, when you actually get to correctly fixing and repairing stuff in comparison to that bureaucratic politics instead, when you actually meet with people that aren't just your donors, because if you only meet with people who are your donors, well, guess what? That doesn't actually fix or repair things to progress forward. That's just the facts. Because when you take in consideration the elected official aspects, if you actually have to pay in comparison to just being a constituent and making the correct choices, that lets you know, why wouldn't I like politics? Why wouldn't I see a need to be a part of certain things? Because if you actually truthfully care about getting stuff taken care of instead, well, you're going to make sure stuff gets taken care of instead. So I brought forward all these situations that throughout my official YouTube channel, the different videos, as far as that's concerned, make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel, share the links to my official YouTube channel links of my videos. Go to my website, www.susanbling.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. Go look through the Ornery PSA, my journal blog. Go look at my book section and click on the links to purchase my books through Amazon. Where I get the profit, not other people, because I have my choices of where I wanted that to go. I didn't want just one, and I wanted to make the choices because it's my work. That goes back to that in a different capacity. But that would require people to have actually asked me instead of, those types. Because, those types. Instead. So, while in the reference to how could just ask, well, is it similar to what the news reports are? Not knowing how to answer correctly? Because you think you can guess in comparison to know, to understand, and to comprehend? Sure, maybe my issues with the numerical. All right. Doesn't change the fact that I've known. And with those clarifications and verifications in 2019, 2020, and 2021, as far as the journal blog posting, sure. In the initial updating, I forgot to put some of the years in because I was taking care of a whole bunch of stuff. Because, similarly to how I could have gotten the report taken care of if certain things didn't happen in 2003 through 2005, I would have been done. I would have been taken care of. But then, it's similar where other people seem to think so highly of themselves, because I know for a fact they can't be thinking that highly of me if they were actually doing certain things. Because if you think highly of me as to my work, well, there's only certain ways that you respect my work. If you think that respecting my work is doing anything than actually asking me what it would be to respect my work, well then that's a failure to understand, as far as that's concerned. So, while some people, in regards to, I'll give the reference of my Medal of Honor art project, if you actually respected my work, though also respected me, you would have actually asked me what was needed, instead of assuming. It's just the facts. You would have actually had that discussion with me in truth, in comparison to thinking whatever you thought. So while some people may have thought, oh, well, it's just this, it's whatever you said in that hypothetical. No, it's much more than that. I was taught and trained by my buck poo and my grandma Gavitt and some aspects as to my buck go. Before the last part, as to the piece of paper. The piece of paper is just a piece of paper without the infusion of my work. So, but there hasn't been that actual appreciation, because if there was that actual appreciation, instead of people thinking it's no big deal to follow along, I didn't give permission. I'm the one doing the work. But maybe it's that pop culture problem. Maybe that's what it is. It's that pop culture problem, thinking that whatever your pop culture viewpoint is instead, in comparison, right? In that hypothetical, because actual respect to my work would require discussing with me in truth. So here, I'll give a little pretend, for those Rennie types, right? So this is me, and I'll do the other aspect. So, hi, are you Susan Meeling? Yeah. What's up? Well, heard about your Medal of Honor art project, or saw your Medal of Honor art project at this level, or whatever. Okay. My opinion is, in this reference, a positive one. And, I have some ideas. Such as, what would your ideas be regarding my work? Well, you go across state lines and you do this and you do that. Yeah, and? Well, I would like to be a contributor. Well, what are the details? Look at that map. No bureaucracy. Look at that, direct and to the point. Look at that. Who knew that could be that simple? Oh, I did. Yeah, I did. Would be in reference to the modern day book and the updates to my journal blog, the Ornery PSA, to my website, www.susanmeeling.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. Or, I'll give another example. Hey, are you Susan Mulang? Yeah, sure am. So, you do Medal of Honor Art Project stuff, and you go around different areas and stuff? Yeah, I do a bunch of stuff as far as that's concerned. Patriotism. Well, so I know some people that have some ideas and they'd like to have a meeting with you and ask your opinion as to what you think would be most ideal since it's your work. Oh, well, that would be respectful. Thank you. Who are you again? What would they like to discuss? You know what? Let's schedule a meeting and we could actually go forward with that in comparison to the garbage that I've dealt with. That would be pretty awesome. That would actually, make sense. In comparison to people who have driven across state lines, in comparison to asking anything at all in person, face to face in person with me, because it's my work. Would that be an example in this lecture, sermon, monologue of mine? That would have been that much? Was that difficult? Look how it's just on the spot without any preparation. Without any note cards. And so, in regards to, well, some people may have, if they misrepresented themselves similarly to my scuba diving in any hypothetical capacity, well, what would be the importance in regards to the formation of the U.S. Space Force and NASA? Among a few other factors to that. What would be important about that as far as speaking in truth? What would be important? What could ever be important about any of that whatsoever? Huh? What would be important? That truth matters, doesn't it? So, in regards to how some people may have had whatever feelings they may have had, well, why? What would be so difficult to just actually speak with me, asking me in truth? I've been honest. So if in hypothetical as to when I was volunteering at Sapphire, well, yeah, sure, I had my volunteer badge. Do you know how easy it would have been for me to take my badge off? As easy it would be to put it on. That's simple. Yeah. So, in regards of how the border agents, in my opinion, as to if in regards to the false accusations having been proven that it's only words that aren't liked, well, this is a problem regarding these millennial types. How they've constantly softened and softened and softened and weakened and weakened and weakened. How are you going to have the U.S. Space Force? In regards to, have you seen the way they've been regarding rioting? As far as the millennial types, you might want to check that. Because if anybody who has any temper tantrums about words, well, they better have every word that they've ever said in a phone call, said in person, face-to-face in person, as well as written in regards to text messages, written in reference to any and every email, written in regards to documentation in any capacity regarding on whatever type of technology. It better be 100% clear. Otherwise, if they can't, why are you going to allow some whiny little temper tantrums tell others how to in that capacity. I'm just throwing that out there because when the agents, in regards to, are dealing with what they're dealing with, there is no excuse to have that type ever complain about words. Because as long as they're not using actual racist terminology or actually using actually in the capacity of, if it's just the little bureaucratic type of the little nitpicky, titty baby temper tantrum little bitch fit type, guess what? The Space Force. Yeah. If you, I don't know what pop culture references some people have, but I'm gonna guesstimate there could be some ... type of guys who could inform people that, yeah, sure, you can clean up the words in description, but when you're in the middle of handling stuff, the last thing you care about is somebody's feelings about words when you gotta handle business. So if in regards to, as to my personal opinion, those border agents, if it's just about some words, or I think someone on the 5 said it was a tone of voice, did they not like the tone of voice when they did something wrong? Did they not like the tone of voice when they did something wrong? Is that what that is? Is that the problem? Because I'm sure one of those types would, in that reference, I would guesstimate, would be like, you're being so condescending! So it don't matter. It don't matter at all with certain types. Because if it's, unless you want them to sound like a robot, because if you want them to sound like a robot, why? Because then that's a different capacity. If you want a monotone speaking capacity of, why would you want a monotone? Have you been using certain technology too much? Where you'd only want without any actualities of, is that what the problem is? So here, let me do this way, okay? So, people are is what it is. So you could either have, get it together and stop being a little bitch, or can you get it together and stop being such a little bitch? Because, if either way you were all no, that's, that apparently you might be accustomed to this a little too much, okay? Because if your little feelings were hurt, whenever your little feelings were hurt, did you have your little feelings? I didn't even talk with my son or my daughter like that. When it came to certain things, James, go pick that up. Lydia, pick up your mess. James, go put that over there. Lydia, go take care of that over there. All right, come on, let's go take care of your homework right now. Go get your stuff and put it on the kitchen table. I'll go make a snack. Give me a hug. All right. Love you. I'll go finish making snacks and then we'll go and talk about some other stuff. It's very simple. I didn't ever speak baby talk to my son or my daughter. Because those types probably piss off my son and my daughter. That probably does. Well, why don't you go and do that? Why don't you go and fucking grow the fuck up? I wouldn't be surprised. Certain regards. Just, it's literally one of those situations. Because I dealt with that regarding McCoy Elementary School. That type of town where, James, Lydia, get your stuff, let's roll out. That's all that was. Hatcher, you can't have that tone of voice. Oh my, just shut the fuck up, bitch. I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut because I know what my biological father would tell you to do with your face. So I'm just gonna, come on, let's go. Stupid bitch. As far as that's concerned, my opinion. actually sign the dotted line. You know, for the constant, so for those who don't understand when it comes to the military, the Army, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Marine Corps, and the Navy, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. You know what? If your will, feelies don't like my tone voice, if your will, feelies don't like my voice, it's within the constitutional rights I signed the dotted line for. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So if you don't like the little words, well, they just don't like the tone of voice, well, I don't care. Yeah, it's the constitutional rights and amendments. It's my constitutional liberties. Yeah, your feelings, they're not in that constitutional rights. No, it's not in your constitutional liberties to be a whiny little titty baby bitch. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's also not in your constitutional rights or liberties at all for you to be a bigot or a racist or a sexist. No, it's not. There are these things called amendments. Yeah, it's called progression. Yes, and so there's that modernization and stuff like that. Yeah! Whoa, surprise! Yeah. Oh, by the way, to those in regards to who I may have known in person, face to face in person before, maybe, just maybe, when you complained about my words beforehand, maybe you didn't have anything to complain about regarding my words beforehand. Just gonna point that out there. And for all of you who've done this sort of stuff, oh, have you not talked any words? Did you always say pray words? Were you always like, and you are going to see what I do in regards to this video game? We are doing this. Is that how you talked on that? Is that how you talked? Did you not say, and I'll do this? I just said, don't think I don't know. I know exactly when I was playing way back in kindergarten days. I know what words I was using. Just point that out there. Just saying. So if will, it's you know, maybe that's why I can move a corset. You know what? Maybe that's why when it comes to my corsetry, I had to learn how to tie it up myself so that way I wasn't some whiny little titty baby temper tantrum throwing little bitch. And then, you know, in comparison, you know, instead, well, you know, let me just, you know, no, that's fine. I'll go take care of that. No, that's fine because, you know, no, that's fine. No, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, this is a weak corset, this one right here. It's a weak corset. I've had stronger, and I snapped the nail. Yes, I did that nail right there. Oh, like that. I actually broke flat boning. Yes, I snapped it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, some people, I know. And then there's the, well, if that hurts your feelings, well, what are you going to do? I mean, you know about Irving in 2011. You know about San Antonio in 2004. Oh, what? Let me guess. Hold on. Do you think, you know, because I'm going to get down to the level, all right? I'm going to get down to the level. It's just a minute. It's okay. I'm going to get down to the level. Okay. Did you think that when in reference to 2004 in the backyard of my house in San Antonio, that was going to be all pretty? Do you think that maybe because of before and other times, like, I don't know, do you think when I was a child in New Jersey dealing with certain things, do you think that it was just as rough for me? Do
Did you think that? Oh, is it that because I had Zippy? My little bumblebee cup. Did you think that because I had Zippy, that Zippy didn't have an attitude? Because just think, Zippy, my little bumblebee cup, picked me. I mean, probably wouldn't have picked me if, I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, my little bumblebee cup, as far as Zippy's concerned, she didn't have a problem with me. She didn't ever, have an issue with my words at all. She didn't have a problem with my tone of voice either. No, no, not at all. So is it because of movies where you only hear swear words every now and then? So like in reference to like military roar movies. The military roar, where, Hollywood really, really pretty divorce? Is that what that is? Because Hollywood makes the war so pretty that instead of you realizing what the reality is, are you thinking that that's really, really not pretty? Is that what you think? So let me give this example. Do you know the difference between getting music on the radio compared to the CD? For those of you who do not know what a radio is, do you know what explicit lyrics translates to? Okay, so if you had that in regards to the music online, there is a difference. Yeah. Yeah. So in that reference of movies about military guys being all raw, being all sorts of raw, guess what? It's pretty. Because you know why? They wear makeup. Yeah, they put some makeup on. Yeah. So I saw this movie called Lone Survivor, and I don't remember the guy wearing camo. I don't remember that. I don't know if he was wearing camo. I mean, he had his BDUs, yes. But I'm talking camo, like on his face. Yeah. Behind his ears and the whatever's as far as the outer and inner ear stuff, depending on what his MOS and job, like all that sort of stuff, in the BDUs. Down to, I haven't done that, where you got your, undershirt and you're like, just in case, I don't personally know officially because I did not graduate basic training. However, there are guys who would be capable of being like, yeah, so camo goes like, and then there's that, and all the way up there, and stuff like that, and get that, and smoosh it, and then, if they have sideburns in comparison, well, they probably don't, so it'd be like this, and like, the makeup, and then, a little bit there, and stuff, and a little bit, and gotta get that little nook and stuff like that, and be like, hey, yeah, and this be like a helmet strap in comparison, this sort of stuff, just gotta make sure, get all that touch up and stuff like that, and do that first, just making sure, because sometimes, the little although if they're like a natural blonde, then they're like, so, it's okay, it'll work. Just make that happen, in comparison, to brunette.
depending on the type of work. I don't want to assume, because I didn't graduate basic training, and I was just supposed to do logistics. That's all. I don't know. What I do know is when I saw Lone Survivor, he had makeup on in the movie. In comparison to, But again, I don't know. I know. So, there are those who, in comparison to me, because I didn't graduate basic training, and I didn't go to ART, I would guesstimate, though, words would be whatever words. But then, have you ever heard of this guy named Richard Pryor? I mean, Mike had a record player which played Richard Pryor. You should listen to him. You should listen. Then there's this guy called George Carlin. You should listen to him. And then was it Andrew Dice Clay? You should really listen to that. For as many people who have said, I know how people are from New Jersey. Why do you have problems with my words then? Knowing that I was born and raised in New Jersey. I mean, if you know how people are who are born in New Jersey. Oh, is it that you watch that Jersey Shore? Is it you watch that Jersey Shore? Is that what that is? You know what I'm going to guesstimate? I'm going to guesstimate something. I'm going to guesstimate. Because I like this band. I like Pussycat Dolls. That Domination, I like that. I like that a lot. So, whatever, was it like for all of the biological females, was it like that Beat song with will.i.am? Was it like, when you, if in this reference, were you like in the terminology of MK Ultra to that level where you were like, because I watched it at some point, because it was like, oh, dude, I can remember, is that where? When stuff went the way it did, like when they were, you'd hear, like kindergarten, first grade. Did you think about that, song, you got a real big heart, but I'm looking at your feet. Is that is that the same thing in regards to the New Jersey Shore show? Is that I made a pop culture I made 2 pop culture references. Ooh, yes I did. So you can handle what? Regarding your little, is it because of the acronyms? The little alphabet soups? Do any of your little alphabet soups do something in regards to? Oh. Ooh. Ooh. Freely understanding charismatic knowledge. What now? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Because what's that acronym? Freely understanding charismatic knowledge. Ooh. Sugar honey iced tea. Ooh. Because I know Rue has, what is it? Is it creative, unique, nerve, and talent? Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, what? Just saying. Because, you know, just saying, I'm just saying, because, you know, I'm not saying that if there are people who have that, because then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Huh? Because some of those millennials, what you going to do? 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 Huh? Because, you know, freely understanding, charismatic knowledge. Ooh. Ooh. I can be a smidgen ornery every now and then. So, but you know what? I'm gonna guesstimate. You know, like for example, that lone survivor guy. He probably, I don't know if maybe he knows a guy in reference to somewhere who could be like, you know what? When we were road marching, sugar honey iced tea. I mean, I do like iced tea, but nonetheless. You know, sugar honey iced tea is hot. Hold on. Now I gotta do a version of the day. You know what? Freely understanding charismatic knowledge is really difficult today. You know, sugar honey iced tea? I can agree. Isn't he married, ironically, to a female named Coco? Or nicknamed Coco, whatever. You know, sometimes when you mix honey with cocoa, it's actually really good. And you have to put some sugar into chocolate for cocoa, because, you know, otherwise, you know. Just pointing that out there. I'm just saying. So, it's freely understanding charming knowledge. Just saying. You know, as it is. Anyway, in reference to that, you know, I can make a different sarcastic comment. Well, there is no border when it comes to my thought processes. And while honesty in person, face-to-face in person, is extremely important at all times, in my opinion. Okay, now I'm going to have a little bit more fun with this, okay? So, thinking honorably echoes forever in victorious eras. Or economy. Then, let's see. Okay, so I know that, no, that one's on that one, so I can't do that one. No, because I'll acknowledge that. So, you almost caught that one. But, there's that little. And so, thing. So, okay. Here's another one. Obviously, understanding takes numerical undertakings more bravely every memory, etiquette demand. Ed. So, let's see. What's another one? Okay, well, I think that one's his name and a show. But I can't. No, that's fine. That's fine. So let's see. I'm going to do a different acronym on that one. Okay, so, well, I can make a joke. Just watching Susan. Because, you know, Jesse Watershed. Which could be something that's said in regards to my official YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in to my official YouTube channel. Like my official YouTube videos. Share the link to my official YouTube videos. Go to my website, www.susanmailing.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. Today is the 8th of July, 2022. 8 July 2022.